Yo, what up, YouTube? What up, what up, what up? Welcome to the Saint Nouan podcast, hosted by Saint Nouan. And I was just thinking, ever since they started that Hadron Particle Collider, CERN, with the logo that has 3 6s that are in a spiral, and they collided the atoms together and they discovered antimatter. So what is my mind over? Here I am speaking to you about antimatter. This situation introduced to us by science, quantum science, that is philosophical, even in its theory. How much of it can be tested? You either have matter or you don't. And they said antimatter is completely unstable with a negative charge. So therefore, when antimatter meets matter, it cross cancels and it releases a burst of energy. And a tiny black hole is basically created, a rip in our space-time continuum. But if antimatter is completely unstable, how would they know of antimatter at all if in the second, millisecond, nanosecond, it collides with the atom, it becomes a black hole? Wouldn't that just be that they collided the atom together and created black holes, tiny black holes in our reality? And ever since then, amongst the population, people have been disassociated. I've spoken. Antimatter, hypothetically, if it's completely chaotic and my theory is wrong and there is antimatter, antimatter would carry most definitely a negative charge. And even though a charge is negative, it's still a charge indeed. But things also are quite interesting, considering if you cross-reference these theories with feelings. Say someone is overjoyed and that's a positive charge. And say someone is depressed. Would one's depression necessarily rub off on another, other than that be empathy? So in effect, it wouldn't necessarily be a negative charge, would it? But yet we could have negatively charged antithesis of anything that exists to collide and create small bursts or explosions of energy and replacing the circumstance with a tiny black hole. It doesn't work if you measure it against something else, the fact of something have a negative charge. As depression would be a lack of a charge, and if given a charge, then depression would then become anger. But it wouldn't necessarily be a negative charge unless someone is angry and then someone can have a negative effect on another. And this negative effect could be explained by chaos, or as when antimatter collides with matter and it creates a nano black hole with a small burst of energy that goes out. But just in the name of it being antimatter, maybe a better term for me to think is dark matter. I don't see how necessarily, if there was dark matter and regular matter, how they would cross cancel. Considering there would always be a perpetual canceling between the containers of where dark matter is and where regular matter is. There would have to be some field of separation. As dark matter wouldn't stop consuming matter if that's what dark matter does, for us to exist within a reality of matter that's surrounded by anti or dark matter. But since the collision of these atoms at CERN, I will say this: it has seems as though people have become more unstable. As if almost a negative charge of dark electricity has taken over the nation. And that the world has become dark, but not dark in the sense of what people would think as evil, even though evil is still lurking. But more so dark in terms of ignorance. And in all the knowledge that man has in society, it seems it does so much because man can barely walk or have basic hand-eye coordination. It would seem as though they stagger like a zombie, even though they don't look like one. They act like one, though. Which is a juxtaposition of what I can visibly see is what it is not, more so than what it looks like. Therefore, I'm here in civilization and people are disassociated, and I'm thinking that antimatter must have an effect on civilization and psychology. As people seem to be given to their darker side and not willing to pick up the fight. To totally give in to every impulse and become a creature of habit, a creature of the night. Night representing things that are unmade and darkness representing ignorance. As one needs light to examine something, at night you have the moon. Beyond that, it's not much. And even though the sun is out and a million people will tell you the sun is out, they walk around like they blind and they don't know it. How do I tell a person who could see they are blind? And how do I tell a person who could hear that they are deaf? None of these things would seem to work here. Cognitive thinking skills seem to be impaired here. Reality seems to be fluid and suggestible here. Certain places I read, it would seem that dark matter has its own frequency in which you could communicate in. But we don't have dark matter technology, so we must be talking about spirits and the ability to perceive and the ability to spiritually hear. Though if you could do these things in this world, they would deem you as being schizophrenic, even though they couldn't figure you out. The things you speak of in epiphanies, they can't seem to manage. But somehow you're the issue because you're different. What's all the attention for? Let's get to the point. I think that these individuals are affected by dark matter, and dark matter has an intelligence that's connected to the gray sea or the white noise. Just like the movie The Ring, where many ghosts exist inside a separate reality, like they were stuck in WandaVision, and the two worlds has come together. One nation pitted against another one, a tale of two cities. The serpent and the hill commingled together. quite the same, but different interests and different ways of going about how to get something in one world. And this is the test that I'm experiencing. Well, even those who are closest to me hate me. Me knowing that they are not quite themselves, that something darkly has taken over. And I think that thing is dark matter. And they will still call me a conspiracy theorist, not thinking from their own mind, but their mind being controlled by the sins of sinister, which is the dark matter that's completely chaotic, that represents mother. Mother being Saturn, and Saturn being the deity that eats its own children, and we rule by knowledge, and we collided atoms together, and now we got issues. Protons, neutrons, and electrons, 666, written in scripture, having the power or having the form of godliness, meaning looking human, but denying the power thereof. There you get dark matter. And in such in the ways you think your mind like a radio receiver, you get interference between the collision of the circumstances and your convictions. You're convicted, that's convicting you to stay in your line. It's causing cognitive dissonance for individuals that haven't picked a side while society breaks down. And I'm here crying out, but I ain't no goddamn prophet. I'm just a nigga saying, wake the fuck up. Where the hell is my girlfriend? Round a lot of communities. Communities of different spirits. I know I'm around a lot of so-called extraterrestrials, given the ignorance of the people of this world, but I come from somewhere further, so I'm not impressed, yo. Me and my brethren and sisters, we like the children from the vault. We from a dimension beyond, far beyond the dimension, the fifth dimension, and the dimension of outer space, and dimensions upon dimensions beyond that. Outside a dimension of 8, and then other dimensions, and then you have to exit outside of a pyramid that hangs in suspension in a dimension where off just yonder, not too far, there's 2 red picnic tables made out of wood. But here we have antimatter, and antimatter has certain effects on electromagnetism. Even your Bluetooth. I remember when I would buy Bluetooth earbuds, they wouldn't last as long as they typically would. It's antimatter, and antimatter has an intelligence. Antimatter communicates. Antimatter is probably the deity that you people call Ray. Scratching your eye and pointing at the ground, signaling to me, but I'm not him, yo. I'm not Ray. Ray is the antimatter. When you see the ring and you think about ghosts and the gray sea or white noise, the spirit box and the radio and AM, those little things you hear behind that sea, that noise, that white noise, could be voices crying out from the other side of WandaVision. Just beyond the field is another field or realm or reality. While we're separated into different fields and dimensions and realms in our lives to be tested. This is what I think is going on. And in my field, people are disassociated. They got a head full of noise. Their head is tangled up. Dark matter has a personality, and this personality has an issue with me because it can't consume me. You see, I'm protected by that holy fire. But everything around me seems to be consumed. Operating individuals like creatures of habit. Very predictable. A lot of individuals now don't have a problem lying either. Spirits inside of them, not from the original vessel. It's like they've been switched out. I don't have no answers. I'm just sitting here waiting with a whole bunch of theories. But this is what I wanted to share with you. I wanted to share with you that I believe that society is suffering from antimatter. You know, they done figured out the key to the bottomless pit. And when they collided them atoms together, things start to change. We call it the Mandela effect. And, you know, all these circumstances, I started to notice people started having anxiety attacks. It started back around 2013. And then we started having new ailments and symptoms and diseases that nobody's ever heard before. More commercial branding with big pharma and the legalization of weed for those whoever was in power knew. That certain things are changing. You know, the logos of things are changing. The dimensions are changing. They call it quantum pollution, if you will. You know what I'm saying? And you know, I started noticing effects. My Bluetooth devices weren't working as great. You know, I'm constantly having a problem with, you know, electronics. You know, how much battery life I have the whole night. You know, other than this, the only thing new that's been introduced has been antimatter. Okay, by CERN. All right. So, the bottomless pit. That's not good. If you figure out how to rip apart reality, we know that's not good. So, what happened in Revelation happened spiritually. And I think the people here is the meek have inherited the earth. The people who are, you know, aim to be more level-headed and things of this nature. But also, I mean, there are a lot of wanderers. You know what I'm saying? Estates that seem to just be wandering around that are particularly open. In other words, individuals look like, appear to me as if nobody is home. All right. But with that being said, yo, peace and blessings be with you all. This is Saint Nouan. This is the Nomad Dreamcast, hosted by Saint Nouan. I'm out. Peace.
Songs go hammer.
Yo, what up, YouTube? Yeah, like Nomad Radio, hosted by Nouan. At my house, I was randomly thinking, maybe I'll record something because I'm bored right now and I don't feel like watching television. So I decided to go ahead and field trip a rant, even though I'm like done with like this series and everything. And I was just kind of thinking, what was I thinking about? I was just thinking about society and different oppressions and expectations also, and how people are oppressed by these expectations. And if those expectations are stereotypical, then that oppression goes unchecked or unnoticed because no one checks the oppression of expectations, and these things would be spiritual and difficult to explain. You know what I'm saying? But every once in a while, back in the day in school, you would have that one friend that could do that one thing, even though that one thing seems so normal, couldn't be any more supernatural than one can think to be able to articulate difficult things while rhyming, oftentimes. That one kid that could explain perfectly what needed to be explained. Even though it would appear if you had to explain it, it would be unexplainable somehow. That individual had the words to connect the minds of the people who was listening, maybe even an audience for 1 second in time, that they could share a concept. These things are awesome. Most of my day is chaotic, even though it's calm. I got a lot of energy. In a place where nothing is going on. Not too many activities one could get involved in, except a lot of niggas go to jail just by being bored. Nonetheless, I was thinking while I was sitting on my couch, I was field tripping and trying to figure out how to explain that you could see a fine female, but her intrinsic value, such as her loyalties and her morals and her ethics and the things that she does at a base level, showing characteristics of being considerate of others outside of herself, not self-absorbed into little black holes. Some proposition a conversation just to find the orifices of a woman, not caring at all. And these things are common, aren't they? If there's respect for those with money. But I don't know why. They're no different than anybody else. Even being broke, able to explain many different things in many different ways. Connect dots and concepts and epiphanies inside of your mind. Stories and occasions. Situations and circumstances commonly shared abroad by different races and parties and demographics, yet here on this podcast we all feel the same, don't we? But it's not a hive. You're individuals here, even though you're a number everywhere else. You see, if anybody cares, no one cares at all, and that's me. So I'm sitting here talking to you. Even though I'm bored, I have to face the horde every morning with the crows waking me up. Overcast skies and overcast faces. People could never seem more normal, even though they appear like robots. No one ever catches my drift. They only catch my drift when I'm silent. Seems like life is one big gag reel, even though it ain't nothing real about it. And I'm just sitting here amongst all these motherfuckers that come from different communities, and some of them from commune living, but they not communists, see? And I'm the only loud nerve screaming out for rights. Something's going bad here. Rights I never gave a fuck about. Nonetheless, man, maybe it's stereotypical. Some of the oppressions we face. Take, for instance, if you see an attractive woman, you don't expect her to say that much. Interesting. Because, let's face it, that's all that it was a face. Most of the time in your experiences and amount of conversations you have had with beautiful women has only led to things being so damn dull, bro. They invested nothing in their principles, morals, or personality. They have no character, oftentimes, do they? We could all blend in if we just hate the black one. Your daughter's coming home never looking more gothic. Black History Month. I'm just sitting there chilling like a dark night. You don't recognize these horns at all. Nonetheless, man. Nonetheless, I just want to say peace and blessing to all you know what I'm saying, niggas out there in TV land. Cause this Truman Show shit, hey man, is fucking crazy. Hey man, America has become a fucking circus, right? And it is not synonymous with Cirque du Soleil. So recognize all the work that goes into them shows. Because can't just anybody throw a goddamn circus. You see, the circus that my country looks like right now, it don't work. The other circus works. That's why it gets paid, it gets money. Our country, it does not get paid. You know what I'm saying? How many things? Never mind. We'll just leave it alone. Saturday. We'll leave it alone. I won't even go down that road. But listen, man. You know, life's got to get better, right? That's what I'm thinking. That's what I'm thinking before I get on this podcast and really start having some conversations, bro. About different corporations and shit. All right. Now, hurry up about damn chickens. Peace and blessings to all you niggas out there, TV land. I'm out. Yo, what up? Welcome to the Nomac Dreamcast, hosted by Saint Nouan. And I just wanted to know, what's the difference between if you like something and if you love something? And if the things that you like, could you potentially love those things, or things that you love, could you potentially never like those things? Considering cognitive dissonance and the faculties of your mind and your memories and your thoughts, also past experiences, what is the difference between the things you like and the things you love? Is it as subtle as it could be, or is it drastic, or have you thought about either? Considering the difference between things you like and things you love, considering how much, how could one measure except duration and time? The difference between the things that you like and the things that you love. Could you love a thing that you do not like? And could you like a thing that you do not love? And are the two things separate? Considering the differences between the head and the heart, what do snipers aim for anyway? It's like we're disconnected between our spirit and our flesh. What is the difference between a man and a beast? Is if he is led by his impulses, and by how much? Considering the differences aren't so different unless one has the Holy Spirit and consciousness of mind. These things are not computations. Thoughts and energy that electrifies and illuminates neurons down a pathway. Which ones do you take? Considering the things that you like and you love is the difference between the nature of your being, a crow or a dove. Either one, though, is a bird. Though these birds represent different things, what is the connotation, and is that a stereotype? Is it more prejudice to have the stereotype and the connotations given that we give them to even animals? We do the same for humanity. And we call ourselves civilized, but what is the difference between a man and a beast? What is the difference between a creature that hunts in the day and one that hunts in the night? And what are the ways that you go about doing your things, especially business? Forever without reflection, considering yourselves. Vain though we look in mirrors and we can't seem to find a point inside our mind, yet we're alive. Alive in the lexicon of the Bible means beast also. Considering flesh and the different types, as the type of a man is not the same as a bird, or a fish. Given the natures of individuals and human beings, what type of hunter are they? How do they go about their business? How do they survive? Appendages, limbs, fingers, a brain, and a skull can still operate in behavior like a parasite. Considering circumstances and situations, how one is the difference between computations of knowledge and understanding spiritual matters, that if one is put in a predicament where they have to depend on others, how could you call them a burden if that was the plan? And those who understand circumstances and situations spiritually will understand that this individual is not. But spiritually, one could be a parasite, one that does witchcraft or reaps on those nearby for advantages. And yet these are the things of a psychopath, not a socio. What is the difference between man and beast? What is the difference between witchcraft and intent? Considering all the crafts, sovereignty of mind and spiritual law in my steps, what craft is there without that first? Therefore, in understanding the dynamics of spiritual law, even at an elementary level, I'm able to stand the fight. Taking whatever pride I might have and putting it beneath God. People claiming that they're civilized when they're not. People claiming that they're human also. Many migrants migrated to New York, and I can't get a job with 2 degrees in my hometown. But I ain't looking for no job. And I could tell where I'm not wanted. And I know that it won't be long, and these things do seem desperate, that it's only for a time. What is the difference between if you like something or you love something? What is the difference in parasitical needs? One that is like a succubus that always relies on you in ways that you don't even know, considering witchcraft, taking your spiritual essence with their crafts, but front like you're a burden. Or is it parasitical? The circumstances and situations by perspective of an individual that has to rely on others. Was that not the plan? Is that not COINTELPRO? Is that not something of the government? Who is responsible? Maybe it's no one at all. Maybe that is a blessing of God, though sometimes I do get bored. I do have space and peace. Praise God, who am I? Knowing my days are numbered, still in a rust. That's the ways of this beast, and this beast is flesh, and flesh is restless. How do you spend your time? Doing the things that you like or doing the things that you love? And are the two the same or are they separate? Segregation between the mind is disassociation. Is this something that has taken over the masses when I walk around town? Something to think about. What is the difference between if you like something or you love something, except that be measured by the duration of time as the density of how much you like something would be 50 shades of gray, and to love something, so it's on the same scale of a fish. Considering how that fish swims in the reflective colors, transcendent down upon the mind. What is the difference between a crow or a dove, and stereotypes that we give to people? How do we judge one's character except by what they look like, but not necessarily in a way that we like at all? Considering what is the difference between liking something and loving something? Do you spend more time loving to hate something than liking to love something? Is that how you see character? The things you take away from an individual is not considered stealing if it's spiritual, but then there comes slander coming down after. Even in the mind, and the broadcast of thoughts and electromagnetic frequency waves, considering impulses in a sleepwalking society and how easy those transmissions can get picked up. The Reese's experiment, separating one from 100 monkeys and teaching it something on a separate island, will reach the others even though they had no contact. Considering the principality of the air and the circumvention of wireless devices that are electromagnetic also, along with spirits and our thoughts. Impulses of the masses sleepwalking, they all like beasts get a hunch, and it's a lie. These things are spiritual things. What is the difference between witchcraft and intent? And if I'm not a witch, if I did the same thing, would I get the same result as you not having knowledge? You know I wouldn't, so you work madness, and in that madness you seem to have lost your mind, and I stepped on it by accident. Looking for a girlfriend in a world you see that's filled with females, but it's interesting cause the couples I see, their relationship seems almost synthetic. In their relations, I never seen faces so desperate. Considering thirst, a can of Sprite, I'll walk around. Nope. See you later. In the land of beasts, like Daniel in a lion's den, swinging a torch, fighting them off, knighting them by igniting them. Lighting them by igniting them one by one, just so I could keep warm. Still looking for God. I think I'm traveling through time. Spiritually, as I advance, they all seem to move backwards, but they can't moon slide. Getting drunk off that moonshine. It's the power of the mind. This is like a strange recession where the shopping malls and the gassing stations are all full, but the news all seems irrelevant. Interesting things happen around my certain part of town. I'm not gonna get into details, but we call ourselves civilized. But there's nothing civil to me inside of here. Just a bunch of lies put together with duct tape. What is the difference between a crow and a dove? And are these merely stereotypes? Or have we seen it 1,000 times? And do we have sayings and cliches? And are those things by tradition? And are those traditions lies? And if they're lies, how your mind's programmed down into the DNA, the essence of your spirit and soul, recorded in the strand to pass down to the next generation and so on. And are all those lies have taken up your head, and every time you look around, everything seems normal and all things seem justified. How angry are we when something doesn't go according to how we thought in a perfect world? Would that mean that you're disassociated, disillusioned, sleep, for something not to go your way, and for you to become so irate in a world like this? Though it is common, it should not be so that you get irate because these things are common. You understand? In your mind, you have a view of how you think things should go, how this world should work, and how this perfect world will work like, but you know the world ain't perfect. And even though you know the world ain't perfect, when something doesn't go your way, you get irate because you're in your mind assuming that the world is perfect and that you'll be treated the same as others will. And in someone else's brain, they have an idea of the perfect world that doesn't match yours of how things should go. And when things don't line up with their world, then they get upset. When really, just on knowing that this world isn't perfect, we shouldn't get irate when things don't work out. Because most things don't, and good things come from God. How many good things have you found here? Something to think about. Peace and blessings be with you all. What is the difference between things you like and the things you love? And if those things are different, does that count as disassociation? If you like things you hate, or you love things you hate but you don't like, or like things you hate that you don't love, that these things can be considered different, subtle, and also disassociations, even though they can also be as drastically different, considering computations in the brain and what one thinks about. Most haven't considered the difference between things they like and the things they love. Only the things that they love and the things that they hate. Considering if they just took the things they love and the things they like, the two could be different, because they can hate, they can like something that they hate, that they don't love, or love something they hate, that they don't like. that these could be considered drastic differences that are also so subtle, held within the mind that people don't think about considering knowing themselves. The only thing that they go by is the image that they got in the mirror, and it's vain. Not considering what they're about. Peace and blessings to you all. This is Saint Nouan.